Welcome back, Idiot Squared viewers. This week, we're going to be playing with OpenAI's new Create Your Own GPT functionality, and we will use that to explore some of the Wolfram Physics Project. So I've taken some of the data from the Wolfram Physics Project, and we've given it to our own custom GPT from OpenAI. And we're going to chat to it. It's okay. It's not the greatest. It's pretty interesting. We'll discuss what we can do to modify and make it better for future use. But yeah, Polska, you ready to jump in?
Yo, fuck yeah, dude. Let's pop it up. I haven't seen this yet, by the way, so this is all new to me as well. Excited to see what you got, guy.
Well, don't get too excited. It might be underwhelming.
Oh, well, tell that to my boner.
Sorry for the minor delay here. We've got a screen share issue.
No worries.
Fill the air for 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure. I've been jerking off lately for some reason. I went back to jerking off. I had a good, I don't know, bunch of months in a row where I wasn't jerking off. And then suddenly I just went back to jerking off. And now I'm finding myself probably, if it's not every day, it's like every second day. So I don't know why. Just suddenly, been doing that. Haven't been watching porn though. Still off the porn, which is difficult sometimes because when you're just eager to finish, and that if you just pop up some porn, it's gonna go a lot smoother. You could just do that, but then you have to resist the porn watching, but then you're jerking off anyway, so you're it's the whole situation is kind of fucking ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, so that's where I'm at now, guy.
Well, thankfully there's the magic of editing.
And if I'm remembering a porn that I've seen in the past, is that still going to have the same effects on my brain in comparison if I'm actually watching a porn? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's an interesting question. No, I think it will be different. How much different, I don't know. But I do think it would be different. Probably better for your memory to try and remember
it. Yeah, tap into that memory bank, guy.
Yeah.
The memory spank bank.
Well, yeah, but I also don't know if you want to be reinforcing those neurons. But anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not very good at filling the air, guy. If you ask me to fill the air, I'm going to tell you exactly what's on my mind. And I mentioned, tell it to my boner, and I started realizing, oh, damn, I've been jerking off a lot. Yeah. But anyways.
Thanks for that. That was fascinating. A peek inside the life and mind of Polska. How fascinating. So on a completely different note, here we have our Wolfram Physics Project GPT, educator with added question and answer knowledge on the Wolfram model. So we're going to try this out. I just made a couple of changes. I may or may not have messed it up, but we'll see. And we're going to see this in real time together, because last night I tested it and it was okay. This morning we'll see.
WPP-GPT.
Yeah, Wolfram Physics Project GPT.
Okay, cool.
Explain the Wolfram model like I'm 10.
Yes, please. Or I'm a 10-year-old idiot.
Yeah. Oh, something seems to have gone wrong.
Oh,
we're off to a great start.
Age restricted. Oh, it looks like ChatGPT's thinking that the Wolfram Physics model is age restricted for 10-year-olds, bro. That's a bummer. God damn, these liberal communists at it again, guy.
Have you blazed today, sir?
No, I have not. I've watched because I edit these fucking pods, and I'm like, yo, sometimes I don't seem like my energetic self, and I'm usually tired when we do these because we've done the last couple Sunday night. I'm better Saturday, so today's Saturday. I'm always more energetic Saturday. Sunday, I think everyone's way more chilled Sundays. Anyways, I'm usually mad fucking tired. But anyways.
Okay,
Ready
guy.
to rock.
I'm gonna need a few seconds here to fix some things up. So I'm just gonna have to stop my screen share. This is gonna be a delayed. We're gonna have to probably redo this one. Just give me a second.
No. It's so far so good, guy. I've already told the audience that I'm back jerking off, and I made a liberal communist joke. So we're off to a perfect start, guy. This is the bullshit that people might want to see. You never know. I might be offending some people who are actually clicked on this video to actually learn about the Wolfram Physics Project. And then you got some fucking idiot talking about jerking off and liberal communist party.
Oh,
you should just do these. Yeah, just keep sharing your screen and just do this live, guy. We can show everybody what the fuck's up, what you're doing. Oh, you already got it going. It looks like you bypassed the age restriction, guy. Is that what you did?
Yeah. I think it was confused. It had two different data types, so we just deleted the CSV and left the JSON.
Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. All right.
So we asked, explain the Wolfram model like I'm 10, and we're now getting the response. So I can dictate if you like. The Wolfram model can be thought of like a very complex and intricate Lego set. Imagine if you had a bunch of Lego bricks and there were rules about how you could put them together or change them. By following these rules, you start with a few bricks and end up building a huge, intricate structure. This structure can get really complicated over time, but it all starts from those simple rules and bricks. In the Wolfram model, these Lego bricks are like tiny points or bits of space, and the rules tell us how these bits of space can change or connect to each other. When we follow these rules, starting from just a few points, we end up creating a whole universe. It's like building a vast space out of tiny pieces, where everything, including the stars, planets, and even the laws of physics themselves, comes from these simple building blocks and rules. The idea is part of a big project called the Wolfram Physics Project, where scientists are trying to figure out if our entire universe might work in a similar way, starting from simple rules and building up to everything we see around us. Would you like to know more about how these rules are made, why scientists think our universe might be like this, or something else about the Wolfram model?
Yes, please. So far as it's dope. I like how they use a Lego analogy because it's for a 10-year-old.
Yeah. I'm a bit annoyed because I have specifically asked this GPT to provide 3 questions at the end of every completion. One that is convergent, divergent, and a lateral question, like that leads to that sort of thinking. And it was doing it last night, but it is not doing it right now. So I'm just going to, on the fly, make a change.
Okay. Oh, by the way, what Rubes mentioned there, the different ways of thinking, the lateral, convergent, and divergent, we actually did a podcast on that last week. So go check out that episode. It's pretty dope. Didn't realize there were so many different ways to think. You know, we mentioned 3, but within those 3, there are also many, many other ways that we can think. No, wait, that was 2 podcasts ago because last week we did the abstraction. So podcast number, I believe is 47 is the different ways of thinking. God damn, I think I'm getting it wrong. 46 or 47. Anyways, check out the last 2 podcasts. One of them is ways of thinking, other one's abstraction.
They both tie in together.
They're both pretty dope. Yeah. By the way, is this through ChatGPT 4 or 3.5?
Should be 4.
Okay.
I think.
Nice guy.
So we'll see what this does now. We'll see if it's listened to our instructions. But it's actually very simple to create GPTs. They're not fantastic initially, but I'm sure that you can do a lot to them to get them better.
Oh, and I mean, version 4.5 or whatever is going to come out next, and 5 down the line is going to get a lot better and then also a lot worse. We're going to have to it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have to find where I don't know how to phrase it, but where like a legit model is, right? Because obviously there's going to be models that are going to be sort of controlled and they're going to give you information that, sort of they want you to know.
Rather biased.
The absolute like free open ones, yeah, they unbiased. And to get like or like a biased one, yeah, like you said, but to get like an actual unbiased one, that will likely be always available somewhere. You're just going to have to go and find it. Take your time to get access to that one. But yeah, so both are going to get better or worse depending on which way you want to look at it.
So this answer's not bad. These blocks are like the basic pieces of everything in the universe, and the rules are like the laws of physics that tell everything how to behave. When you follow these rules step by step, you can see how these basic pieces can grow and change to form all the things we see in the universe, like stars, planets, and even living things. Like a giant, never-ending game of building and transforming where simple rules lead to a complex and beautiful universe. Now, to further explore this topic, here are 3 types of question. Convergent question. Can you think of other examples where simple rules can create complex things? Divergent question. How do you think understanding the Wolfram model might change the way we see the world? And then the lateral question is, if you had to create your own set of rules for building blocks, what interesting patterns or shapes do you think you could make? I like the divergent question.
I also like the divergent question because we sort of talk about this all the time, right? How we can sort of understand the world through the eyes of this Wolfram model physics project.
Correct.
But sort of having like just a different perspective. So I'm also down with the divergent question.
So I'm going to take that and I'm going to paste it in there. And we're going to see what it says. So I wrote, how do you think understanding the Wolfram model might change the way we see the world? And WPP GPT, understanding the Wolfram model can significantly change the way we view the world in several fascinating ways. The unified perspective of the universe. The Wolfram model proposes a framework where all phenomena in the universe, from the smallest particles to the largest galaxies, follow the same underlying principles. This could lead to a more unified understanding of the physical world. Complexity from simplicity. The model demonstrates how complex structures and behaviors can emerge from simple rules. This might change our approach to understanding complexity in nature, leading to new insights in fields like biology, ecology, and even social science. The computational universe. The model views the universe as a kind of computation, suggesting that everything around us, including ourselves, is part of a vast computational process. This perspective could deepen our understanding of concepts like consciousness and free will. New approaches to problem solving. By applying the principle of the Wolfram model, scientists and researchers might develop new methods to solve complex problems, perhaps discovering solutions that are currently unimaginable. The educational impact. For education, the model could inspire new ways of teaching and understanding science, emphasizing the role of simple rules and computation in the natural world. So it's okay, but it's not really saying anything of substance, is it?
Yeah, it's giving like a overview of things, but it's not really diving deep on any of these points, really. I'm wondering if we can get into sort of, can you please, dive a little bit deeper on the 5 examples which you provided? But the first one was kind of interesting, right? Can you just to refresh my memory a little bit, is it the unified
perspective of the universe?
Yeah, that one, the unified perspective of the universe. So to get, like, it's basically being able to get everyone on the sort of same page with what, constructs a particle, like the smallest thing upwards to, or and then as big as like the largest things like galaxies. So I guess like having like a base understanding of what the building blocks are and finding out like exactly what that is, pinpointing what it is, and having everyone get on board. Not like convincing people, but showing them like, okay, so this is what we found. This is how, these are like the building blocks. This is how we get particles. This is how we get galaxies, would make the progression of science a lot more fluid, I think, because we would all be sort of starting from the same point moving forward, right? And this would kind of get away from, X professor's hypothesis and, Y professor's hypothesis. So it would be a really good way to sort of, progress science and progress our understanding of things. You know what I'm trying to say, Roops?
I do. I do know what you're trying to say. I want to push back a little bit on that, because I think, yes, it's very powerful to have a unified perspective of the universe, right? But I also know that we're fallible and that we could have it wrong. And so it's useful to have different perspectives on the universe. So I'm happy for, like, I enjoy the fact that other people are trying to prove different things. I don't know, well, I don't think we can know if the Wolfram model is the one model that will solve everything, right? It could just be the next best thing, and in the future there could be a better model that comes out at the end of the day. But yes, I'm glad that there are other people pursuing different paths or different ways to understand this. I think they all tie in. I think the Wolfram model is fascinating and very useful. Like, it's helped me to understand things or to have a better idea of things, for sure. But yes, that unified perspective, like if more people sort of jump on the bandwagon or the belief system that the universe can be described by these hypergraphs and rewrite rules applied to those hypergraphs or transformations on those hypergraphs, I think it can unlock a bunch of good stuff. I think that's a good thing that more people do it. I don't think we need all people to do it. I'm happy, I think it's good that we've got other people pursuing different ways of thinking about it. But yeah, it does offer that. It does offer a unified perspective. The craziest thing is that unified perspective, because it's so broad and general, kind of doesn't say anything. Because it applies to everything. It kind of doesn't say much. So it's useful to adopt it, but there's still a lot of things that need to be done within the Wolfram Physics Project to sort of get that. Like, they don't have particles yet. Particles in the Wolfram Physics Project are actually like really big things compared to the underlying graph structure, and for us, they're like tiny things, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no, you made a lot of really good points, and I tend to agree with you. I'm just trying to say, like, if we can sort of if we could absolutely prove something, right? Like what is a building block of these particles? I don't, if that even makes sense what I'm saying, but if we're able to prove what it is, like pinpoint exactly what it is, then that is something that, it would become like a unified perspective because we're able to prove it. And like, as I'm saying that, I guess, because like what you mentioned before, we have been wrong about things in the past. So although with the current technology, we'd be able to think that we're absolutely proving something, if we do have a unified perspective and we let that get away from us, like everyone just, okay, and no one sort of questions it, that's dangerous, because then it's going to be even more difficult to disprove it, or there's going to be less people trying to disprove it. And we know that science is not so much about proving something, like it is, but more of science is trying to disprove something, try to see what is wrong with, with this article, with this experiment, with this hypothesis, and build sort of knowledge based on that.
Yeah.
So
useful explanations. And criticism and critique is the foundation of science. Like, that's how we improve, continue. Like, that's how we keep making progress, so to speak. Look, it's fascinating. The thing that I think is just really important to sort of state, that might seem obvious to a lot of people, it might be very unobvious, is we can't actually, we can't actually see the universe as it truly is, so to speak. We can only ever see a model or a map of it. We can only ever make models of it, if that kind of makes sense. So it's always going to be an approximation. It's never going to be the exact thing. It's just, we're computationally bounded observers. Like, all we can do is make maps, essentially, or make models. We discussed this in that abstraction pod last week. But as models go, this seems to be a very general model that can be applied across all different scales. And it's not just in terms of, like the universe or physics. This also applies to mathematics and meta-mathematics. Like, this framework, the Wolfram model, can be applied to all of these things. And I think it does add a richness. It helps to develop our modeling ability, or our understanding, the way we like to refer to it. But yeah, any sort of directions you might want to go from here? I found that the use of these questions is really quite interesting and useful.
Yeah, let's definitely try to choose one of those. I just wanted to clear one thing up, Rubes, because I sort of forgot, and I think maybe some of the viewers would appreciate this. Is that the Wolfram Physics model is basically trying to combine quantum physics and what was the other one?
No, it's not necessarily
General
trying
relativity.
to. It just does.
Okay, so it's general relativity and
Yeah.
quantum physics.
Yeah.
Right. Because prior to this, they were very two separate fields, and it was very difficult to try and sort of find connections between the both. Is that correct?
Yeah. And in the Wolfram Physics Project, it turns out that they're essentially the same thing, but just in different spaces.
Which is fucking beautiful. That's why I find it so fascinating.
It's really cool. But yes, it to me, it seems to provide a richness to things that were previously very hard or difficult to understand or conceptualize. So yeah, maybe we should dig into that a little bit.
All right.
Let's see if this WPGPT can keep up with us here. What does the Wolfram model say about quantum mechanics? So the Wolfram model presents a unique perspective on quantum mechanics, one of the most fundamental and intriguing areas of physics. According to my knowledge source, the Wolfram model suggests that quantum phenomena can be explained through the notion of multi-way graphs. These graphs represent all the possible states and histories of a system, encompassing the many pathways that particles or systems could take according to the model's rules. In traditional quantum mechanics, phenomena like superposition and entanglement are central concepts. The Wolfram model proposes that these phenomena can be understood as different paths in the multi-way graph. For instance, a particle being in a superposition of states is akin to it following multiple paths in the graph simultaneously. Furthermore, the model implies that the probabilistic nature of quantum mechanics, where outcomes are not certain but have probabilities, arises naturally from the structure of these multi-way graphs. The more ways there are to reach a particular state in the graph, the higher the probability of that state. This approach to quantum mechanics is quite different from the standard interpretations and could potentially lead to new insights and understandings in quantum physics. So that's pretty good.
From that though, like, do you understand what the difference is between quantum mechanics and how the Wolfram model observes quantum mechanics? Did you understand that part? Because I didn't really get what the difference would essentially be.
Did I get it just from yes, because I've tried to read a lot about these things. But no, I understand that. So typically, entanglement and superposition have been pretty, I don't know, maybe ill-defined, or just very hard to understand or conceptualize. Like when people typically talk about superposition, they talk about the state is in a superposition of up and down, right? So when you think of that, what does that mean to you?
The superposition of a state?
Well, superposition is a quantum phenomena, right? And it was typically explained as if you have a qubit in a quantum computer, right? It's said to be in a superposition of both up and down. Or the famous one is Schrodinger's cat, where the cat is in a superposition of being alive and dead.
Oh, that it can be in two different states simultaneously or two positions simultaneously?
Yeah. So how do you think about that? How do you conceptualize that?
That there's a possibility that it's just tapping into the possibility space, because no thing is just one thing.
Oh,
so that's your line. That's your line. I like that line. Yeah. So the cat can be dead and alive at the same time if we take away our construct of time as well. So if we take away that construct of time,
or definite things happening.
Yeah.
But so without so typically in quantum mechanics, how would you come to terms with that, right? So how can something be alive and dead? For us and the way we think of things and exist as observers, we're something's either alive or it is dead. How is it both?
Okay. So, well, for us, it's one or the other. I think, and I'm just going back to like my time example because we see things in like this linear time frame where you're born, you have your life, and then you die, right? But if you take away the concept of time and it not being like a linear thing, then there's no beginning and no ending. It just is. So therefore, the cat can be dead and alive at the same time. I think.
Guy, fucking hell, dude. What are you been on some metaphysical journeys or what, dude?
Guys, thanks to you, bro. You got me on this shit. You got me on this shit, and I'm not feeling it. So I really like that. This is sort of, we've had discussions behind the scenes that this is kind of the direction we want this podcast to go because we think Wolfram is a bad motherfucker and Gerard also another bad motherfucker. And
correct.
Yeah.
But okay, so
some cool shit
with this superposition stuff. Like, yeah, you're kind of right. Like, what I was trying to get at is typically the way superposition was sort of explained to people or has been explained, it was kind of hard to sort of grasp what it really was, right? So then people would say like, oh, there's a many worlds interpretation where in this universe the cat's alive, in this universe the cat's dead, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
With the Wolfram Physics approach, what it actually states is that there are completions, or like there are paths that lead to the cat being alive. There are paths that lead to the cat being dead. And at the moment, like, well, that superposition is the fact that those things can happen. It's like the possibility space, so to speak. So yeah, a particle being in a superposition of states is akin to it following multiple paths in the graph simultaneously. So it's just like that possibility space. But I think through the Wolfram model, you can develop a better understanding of things like superposition and entanglement. I think that they become clearer. You are able to see them in a greater context compared to the way it's traditionally taught. And another crazy thing with the Wolfram model is that it shows that quantum mechanics and general relativity are essentially the same sort of phenomenon, like the same theories, but just at of different spaces or at different levels.
And the entanglement is that's when one thing is sort of it's sort of like a catalyst to another thing. Like if we think about some
not necessarily a catalyst.
No, like an like I was thinking about like an enzyme in the body, right? And enzyme usually carries out its function through a catalyst. So the enzyme cannot do its function until a catalyst is present. So aren't they entangled? Is that correct?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Okay. So
entanglement is more like it's good way to describe it. It's like it's history or it's ancestry.
Oh yeah, you gave me the family model before.
Yeah. So
like the family tree or whatever.
Yes. Okay. So let's go through. Okay. Why am I explaining any of this shit? We have a WPP GPT in front of us, dude. What am I doing? Okay. Let's go through.
I think it's my fault, guy. I like to discuss, debate, dissect things that we do on this pod, guy. Everything like.
Okay. Project. In the context of the Wolfram Physics Project, what is entanglement? Okay. In the context of the Wolfram Physics Project, entanglement is understood in a unique way that differs from the traditional quantum mechanics. According to the project's perspective, entanglement is not just a mysterious quantum phenomena, it's a feature that arises naturally from the underlying structure of the universe as described by the project's models. Here's a simplified explanation. Network of relationships. The Wolfram model uses a concept called a hypergraph to represent the fundamental structure of space and matter. In this hypergraph, particles and their interactions are depicted as connections between points. Entanglement as shared history. When two particles become entangled in the Wolfram model, it means they share a common history in this hypergraph. Their paths have intersected or influenced each other in such a way that their states are now correlated. The multi-way system. Entanglement is also explored through the multi-way system concept, where all possible states of a system are represented. In this framework, entangled particles are those that are connected through multiple pathways in this system, indicating a deep and complex level of interaction. Emergence of quantum phenomena. The Wolfram Physics Project suggests that quantum phenomena like entanglement emerge naturally from the evolution of these hypergraphs and multi-way systems. This means entanglement is not just a peculiar aspect of quantum mechanics, but a fundamental feature of the universe's structure. Understanding entanglement in this new light could lead to revolutionary insights in physics and beyond. Now let's consider 3 follow-up questions to explore this further.
So convergent, how might this new understanding of entanglement contribute to the development of quantum computing? Divergent, what other mysterious aspects of quantum mechanics might be explained using the concepts from the Wolfram Physics Project? Lateral, how can the idea of interconnectedness in entanglement inspire new ways of thinking about relationships and systems in other fields, like sociology or ecology?
All good ones. Does that kind of make sense to you about the entanglement with the Wolfram model?
A little bit. Can you scroll up just a little bit, Rubes? I wanted to go back to the part where I was talking about of a shared history. Okay. So when two particles become entangled in the Wolfram model, it means they share a common history in this hypergraph. So that's where the entanglement occurs, is that there's something about the past that they share. And I guess that's kind of like, does that apply to the family tree example that you've given me a couple podcasts ago or a while ago?
Yeah.
Where I'm connected to my grandfather through my dad.
Yep.
Okay. All right. What's it? Do you think we could ask maybe for another real world example, just to sort of hit it home, like with what it means, this entanglement? What do you think?
Yeah, go for it. What sort of example do you want? This whole idea of having this thing is that you can talk to it.
Yeah, let's just ask it if it can give us a real world example or analogy to help us better understand what entanglement means in the perspective of the Wolfram Physics Project. By the way, I was talking about they began human studies with the brain chip. What's it called? That Elon's behind.
Neuralink,
yeah. So they've already began human trials. They got the FDA approval, and they're currently looking for residents in the United States who suffer from, I can't remember what all of them are, but they're looking for patients who are paraplegic, and I can't remember the other ones. There's a list of them, but yeah, if anyone's interested in that or knows somebody who might be interested in that and being a test subject, literally, you should go check it out if you live in the United States, because it's only available for Americans. But yeah, it's unfucking real that is beginning now. Like, they're legit doing human trials, which is kind of scary, but also kind of cool, because if they can sort of, cure people of some ailments, which they have, like, I mean, if you can have someone who's paraplegic walk again through Neuralink, that's unreal.
That's cool
also, shit. Yeah. But anyways,
okay, so
yeah. Sorry, that it got me thinking about that, because I was thinking, just give me more information. I need more examples. But when you have the Neuralink, you have this huge amount of brain power capacity that you won't even need to really study anymore. Like, you won't even need to read anything anymore.
You just download it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just got to make sure it doesn't have a virus in it. Okay, so I wanted, you asked a question. I was like, okay, let's go. So I said, let's explore entanglement more, provide a detailed explanation of quantum entanglement and how it is explained in the Wolfram model. Please use an example or an analogy to help communicate it. So WPP GPT replied with, quantum entanglement is a fascinating and somewhat mind-bending concept in quantum mechanics. And the Wolfram model offers a unique perspective on it. Let's first understand traditional quantum entanglement and then see how the Wolfram model interprets it using an example and an analogy for clarity. Traditional quantum entanglement. In the realm of quantum mechanics, when two particles become entangled, their quantum states are linked. No matter how far apart they are in space, if you measure one particle, you immediately know something about the other particle, even if it's light years away. Example, two particles, A and B, they are entangled. If particle A is found to be spinning in a particular direction, particle B will be found to be spinning in the opposite direction. This correlation holds true regardless of the distance between them. Analogy. Think of it like a pair of magic dice. When you roll them, no matter how far apart they are, they always land on numbers that add up to 7. If one lands on 3, the other will land on 4. The result of one dice instantly influences the other. Okay, so
Beautiful analogy, actually. I like that.
Entanglement in the Wolfram model. The Wolfram model proposes a network-like structure of the universe, where particles and their interactions are represented in a vast graph of points and connections. Example in the Wolfram model. Consider particles A and B as points in this network. When they interact, they create pathways in the network that link them. These pathways represent their shared history or interaction. In the Wolfram model, entanglement is the network connection between particles showing their correlated states. Analogy in the Wolfram model. Imagine a spiderweb. 2 points, particles on the web, are connected by strands, interactions. When one point is touched or moved, the other point feels like this due to the strands connecting them. In the Wolfram model, entanglement is like these connecting strands showing the interconnectedness and shared history of these particles. I don't fucking know about these examples here, guys. I feel like our WPP GPT might have just fucked up a bit. Anyway, I'll continue along with it.
Well, I was understanding it. So now that you say that, I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Imagine a spider web, 2 points, particles. 2 points, particles on the web are connected by strands, interactions. When one point is touched or moved, the other point feels this due to the strands connecting them. In the Wolfram model, entanglement is like these connecting strands, showing the interconnectedness and shared history of particles. In the Wolfram model, entanglement is not just a peculiar quantum event, but an integral aspect of the universe's structure. It shows how particles are interwoven into the complex fabric of the universe, with their histories and interactions shaping their behavior. Reflecting on this, let's explore these follow-up questions. Look, it's not bad, but I don't think
what are your doubts, though? What are your doubts with this one?
Well, just like in the quality of the explanation and the analogy.
Oh, all right. Well, what about the dice analogy? What did you think about that one? That one was good.
That was not bad.
What's wrong with the web one, do you think? Because if you touch a web, like the whole, like if you touch one point on the web, all the points around it are also going to be affected, right? Because you're putting strain on this one strand, and the strand is being pulled, and then it's going to put strain on other points or strands around it, right? That's essentially what it's saying.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I just don't think it's as rich as it could be.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like our WPP GPT is not as good as it could be. I want to just quickly, I had a chat with this thing last night. Okay. And I'm not going to lie to you, but it seemed better.
Yo, pop it up, guy. Let's check it out. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, if you guys want to hear Rubes continue with his sexy, motivated science reading voice, let us know in the comments, because I'm voting yes for that one, by the way. So let us know.
So wait, I have to read it in a more fun and engaging way?
No, the way. So do you remember how you started reading it? You did your analogy of the Wolfram Physics model. I don't know what you did, but you did like a sexy, motivating sort of voice that it actually got me going. So I was like, oh, this is good. But I don't know how people would be feeling about it. So I'm wondering what people would say about it. But I don't know how, I don't know if you want to do that. I don't even know if I'd want you to do for the entire pod either, guy. But
because it's like annoying.
It could possibly get annoying after a while.
All right. So we'll come back to WPP GPT, right? I'm just going to stop sharing that for a second. I want to make some tweaks to it. It's annoying me. But I am going to share, last night when I was getting it ready, it seemed to be way better. So this is the chat from the preview from last night. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So it did the Lego bricks thing like it did before. Now think of the Wolf's special set of rules for how to put these Lego bricks together in the Wolfram model. Okay, sorry, I'll read this from the beginning. All right, imagine you have a big box of Lego bricks. Each brick can be connected to other bricks in different ways. Now think of the Wolfram model like a special set of rules for how to put these Lego bricks together. In the Wolfram model, the universe is like a giant Lego structure. Instead of Lego bricks, it uses simple things called cells, which is not true. They call them eames. These cells can be connected in various ways, just like Lego bricks. The rules in the Wolfram model tell you how these cells should connect. Again, that should be eames. These eames connect, break apart, or change as time passes. Imagine if every second someone changes the Lego structure following a specific set of instructions. These changes over time can become really complicated and can end up looking like all sorts of things, maybe a tree, a house, or even a whole city. In the same way, the Wolfram model tries to explain how everything in the universe, from stars and planets to atoms and particles, can come from these simple rules and cells. It's like saying that everything we see in the universe is part of a giant, ever-changing Lego model built following specific instructions. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, but it is built following specific instructions.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's true?
Yeah, that's the transformation rules, right? That is like there's a specific set of rules.
Yeah.
We might live in a universe.
Sounds programmable.
Well, it sounds very deterministic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But guess what? We're going to dive right into that because it is deterministic. That's essentially the crazy thing, is that there are these set rules that update the hypergraph, right? And according to these rules, all of these things emerge. But just because it is deterministic does not mean that we can understand the future or we can predict the future wholeheartedly because of, let's get into it, computational irreducibility. So, fascinating. Explain computational irreducibility to me in an intuitive way. Sure, let's think about computational irreducibility in a fun, intuitive way. Imagine you're watching a very complex and unpredictable movie. This movie is so unique that the only way to know what happens at the end is to watch the entire thing from start to finish. You can't just skip to the end or read a summary to find out what happens. Computational irreducibility is a bit like that movie. It's a concept in the Wolfram Physics model and other complex systems that says some processes are so complicated that the only way to know their outcome is to actually follow each step of the process as it happens. You can't take a shortcut or use a formula to predict the end result without doing all the steps. This is not a bad example. I wasn't super happy with that. I think I've got a better example of computational irreducibility down here. So I'm going to jump ahead. There are several key concepts you should understand. Yep. Oh, we go through that. We're going to miss that. Okay. We did this. Physics. We're going to go through. And I asked it the same question multiple times. Sorry, this is a big chat. I'm just going to get down to this.
No, it's all good, guy. I love it. I love the passion.
Okay, what is a simple explanation of computational irreducibility? Computational irreducibility is a concept from the field of complex systems, particularly relevant in the context of the Wolfram Physics Project. At its core, computational irreducibility suggests that the only way to determine the outcome of certain processes or systems is to actually simulate or perform the entire computation. You can't take shortcuts or use a simpler formula to predict the final state. In simpler terms, Think of it like baking a cake. Even if you know all the ingredients and the recipe, the only way to find out exactly what the cake will taste like is to actually mix the ingredients, bake the cake, and taste it. There's no formula that allows you to skip the baking process and directly predict the taste. This concept is significant in understanding complex systems, such as weather patterns, biological processes, or even entire universes in the Wolfram Physics Project, where the end state of the system can't be predicted without fully simulating all the steps leading up to it.
Wow.
So does that kind of...
Wow. So yeah, it is making sense. So let's look at the weather patterns example. Like if we wanted to better predict weather patterns, I mean, because we're essentially, because we don't know what the cake is going to taste like until we actually go through baking it. That means we don't necessarily know what the weather is going to be like tomorrow until we get to tomorrow, right?
Correct.
So how do you think we would be able to sort of better predict weather? Would we have to have a lab and sort of have like an accelerometer type of machine thing that takes the current weather and then it accelerates it somehow and shows us what the weather will be like in 24 hours in like a smaller... You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean, but no, that's not how, no. So what it's telling you is that even from very simple rules, complexity emerges, right? And that this phenomena of computational irreducibility means that for some things, there just aren't shortcuts. The only way to know is to run the thing, okay? So if we want to be able to fully predict the weather, the only way we can do that is to run a model of the weather that is completely accurate to the weather, right?
yeah,
So,
that's what I was getting at.
yeah, but the simplest, like the simplest way to do that is the weather. Like it's in a sense running the most efficient computation of itself, right? Like the fact that it's instantiated in this universe is an example of it being the most efficient way to run itself. So we can't really predict the weather with absolute certainty very far out at all, right?
No.
Purely because we don't have a way of simulating the totality of the weather, right? We can't know because we're computationally bounded. We can't model every single atom, every single molecule, every single person and their actions. Do you know what I mean? So like the Earth existing with us on it and the weather happening is the most efficient way to model the weather. I don't know if that's making sense, but like...
Well, we just can't predict it though. So how do we predict it? That's the issue.
No, we can't. This is the thing. We can only ever do it to some degree or like within some probability. We can't get that certainty, right? Because we can't simulate every single thing that goes into that weather. Like, think about it. What we would have to do is we would have to essentially emulate Earth, right? The entirety of Earth.
In a lab.
Yeah. How are you going to do that, son?
Well, that's what I was saying, Guy. We would simulate it in like a smaller, I don't know, like take the entire universe and put it in a box somehow. I don't know how you would do that. Scientists will have to figure it out. And then you could have like a simulation of it. You could just accelerate it, you know?
Yeah.
Like wind it up like you do one of those toys, you know? And then you just wind it up. And then inside it accelerates somehow. And then it shows you what the weather would be like tomorrow.
Yeah. No.
And then you're fucking with all the people that are living on this simulated world that you created too, which is going to be an issue, I feel like, as well. But
yeah. But no, there is no way of doing that. So we will be able to better and better approximate what might happen with the weather, but we will never be able to, 100% predict the weather like over a long time horizon.
Do you actually plan around weather predictions? Like if you do you ever actually look at the forecast and say, oh, well, maybe I'm not going to go do that tomorrow because the weather looks horrible on the forecast. Do you ever make those decisions? No, neither do I. Like, I never even check the weather. I don't give a fuck. Sometimes I'll wake up. Go ahead.
I don't. I don't, because so many people talk about the weather. I'm just like, there's no point me even fucking looking, because somebody's gonna tell me. Do you know what I mean? Somebody will be like,
people,
well, it's only going. We're not going to get rain here for another 3 weeks. Like, whatever. I'm just being funny, but so many people talk about the weather. I'm just like, I didn't bother. But no, I try not to let it affect me. I rarely I would check if it was really important. I'll be flying soon, so I check to make sure that, like, the day that I'm flying, I was like, what's the weather going to be like? Because I want to understand probabilities of my flight being, canceled or impeded by weather.
I never even thought about doing that. Yeah, that's a good call, actually.
And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll run a closer time. So, like, one flight gets in, and there's only a decent, like, I don't have a huge amount of time between that flight and then the next flight. But I was like, I'll take that risk, because the weather seems to say, or the predictions are, that there's not going to be much rain.
You know what I tried once in public? I forgot about this. Someone brought up the weather to me. I don't remember where I was. And I told them, like, yo, I think we could think of something much more interesting to talk about. Don't you think so? And they liked it. And they liked that comment. And then we got right into, like, a deeper conversation. It was dope.
That's good shit, dude.
If the weather is one of those things that people just lean on because it's so easy. It's so easy to break the ice with.
100%. But it also, it's such a huge thing for so many people. Like, I am aware of people who literally will complain about the weather for most of their day. And I'm just like, why would you, one, let something that's out of your control have such an outsized impact on how you feel, your mood, and everything that you do, right? Like, I've even got, like, I go motorbike riding with people, and occasionally some people in that circle might be like, oh, I don't want to go riding because it's riding. I don't want to go riding because it's raining. I'm like, pussy.
I feel like it'd be better to go in the rain.
Well, it's way sketchier. It's just different.
Yeah.
Right? It's just different. And that's all it is. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, if you approach it that way, it will be bad. But if you approach it with, like, okay, it's just going to be different, then it won't be as bad. I don't know. I just think things are what you make of them in that sense. But we're on a nice divergent track here. That you lied about this last podcast. I've actually got to pull you up on this, dude. You lied to me.
What did I?
You said you are not very good at divergent things or thinking. And since then, you have proved to be fucking phenomenal at divergent thinking.
I did say that. Yeah. So I'm gonna come clean about something, guy. You know what happens sometimes? I've noticed about doing this podcast. There's like this. Although I feel less of it now because we've been doing it for like a year, actually.
Over a year now.
Yeah. But there's like this pressure cloud thing that hovers above me while we're doing this to not have spaces where one of us is not talking, which it doesn't matter because I could just always edit those out. But I feel like I'm a lot more apt to just saying things without actually thinking.
What the
about
fuck,
it,
dude?
Beforehand, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
So I feel like although I did say that about I'm not a very good divergent thinker, I feel like I just said that without even really thinking about it too much. And I feel like I do that a lot doing this pod, because when you hit the record button, although like it's not affecting me as much as it did before, I still have like this, okay, like I gotta say something, right? So now I look at other podcasts differently. I look at, okay, especially when someone's being interviewed and they're being put on the spot, I'm like, yo, are they really meaning to say that? Or are they just saying something because they feel like they have to say something, and they start saying something and they didn't catch themselves, and they just, okay, well, I put myself here, I'm just going to keep talking, keep explaining, because that happens to me. So I imagine that it happens to other people as well. So I think sometimes if we are watching like a bad interview, I think, we could understand that, oh, like they're sort of on the spot and there's this pressure on them to speak. So maybe they're just speaking to speak and not really speaking how they would actually or in a different type of environment. Do you get that or not really, right?
Yes. I was just enjoying no one speaking.
Oh, okay.
No, I completely agree with you. No, it is. There's a weird pressure. Things change when you press record.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is different. It is not the exact same as when you don't press record. Yeah.
But I did lie. I guess I did lie.
I'm just fucking with you, dude. I was just trying to make it I was just trying to over dramatize it so that we had a little bit of thing.
Yeah.
I really don't care.
One beautiful
the interesting thing.
Sorry, guy.
One sec. So I can sort of resonate. I don't feel as pressured to say things. But I don't know why that is. But anyway, what you were just saying reminds me of language models, right? Like sometimes when you're talking to a language model, it just says some shit and you're like, wait, slow down, think through that. And then it's like, oh, sorry, I made this mistake. I was like, man, there's so many similarities between humans and language models. Very interesting. But yes, please continue with what you were going to say.
Well, the beautiful thing that we did with this pod, I think, is calling it Idiot Squared. Recognizing that we're fucking idiots, but it also gives me sort of the sense that I can just express myself or just say shit or ask questions without any sort of repercussion. I don't feel like I need to sound smart on this podcast at all, right? So it gives me that liberty to just spew shit sometimes. For example, at the beginning where I was talking about jerking off, and I just it doesn't matter, right? And sometimes I'll go back and I'll watch the pod, and I'm like, oh, I don't really agree with what I was saying here, right? That happens sometimes. I'll say something today, and then a week from now I'll look at it like, well, I didn't really explain that properly, and I don't really agree with what I was saying or how I laid it out, and it's because I feel like I have to keep talking, and it's difficult. It'll probably get better as we continue to do this. But yeah, I find myself saying shit that is fucked up. Fingers crossed, guy. Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Just fucking with you.
So, no, but yeah, seriously. So obviously, we're going to get mad shit wrong. And it is what it is.
I agree. But yes, Idiot Squared creates the space to be wrong. If you are not willing to be wrong, you cannot learn. And I think it's important to acknowledge that we are all ignorant in some way, shape, or form. Nobody knows everything, and nobody can know everything. And that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I like it. That's why we did the Idiot Squared thing, is because it gives us the space to be a bit crude, be a bit relaxed on a lot of those things, and allows us a bit more freedom to explore. But yeah, it's fun. So with that computational irreducibility, we're going to converge from our divergence back to this. So that computational irreducibility says that even though you can know the simple rules that that cause something to happen, does not mean that you can predict it over a long time scale, right? Sometimes the only way you can do it is by running the system. Yeah, that makes sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So with the weather, because there are so many different things interacting, influencing, whatever, it's very complex. You can't just jump ahead and know the answer. We can make general predictions based off coarse grainings, right, of the underlying dynamics. We can see flows of air, and we can measure pressures, and we can measure temperatures, and we can measure all these different things. These are all coarse grainings of the underlying dynamics. And we can make, estimations and predictions off that, but we can never, ever know for certain ahead of time. That's what that computational. Hey, you go.
No, I was just going to say, where do you think we could take it from here, guy?
Podcast wise?
Yeah, like this episode. What's the next?
Well, this is what I wanted to get into. This, to me, was a more interesting conversation that I was having with WPP. GPT.
Yeah.
So how might computational irreducibility impact our understanding of free will or determinism in the universe? I think we finish on this a little bit. So computational irreducibility has significant implications for our understanding of free will and determinism, two philosophical concepts that have long intrigued thinkers. Determinism and predictability. In a universe governed by deterministic laws, it might be assumed that if we knew all the rules and initial conditions, we could predict the future in detail. However, computational irreducibility challenges this notion. It suggests that even in a deterministic universe, the outcome of many processes cannot be predicted without actually simulating each step of the process. This means that, practically speaking, the future remains unpredictable despite being determined by specific laws.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah,
that's really cool.
So we're going to riff off this in a second. I'm just going to go through this one. Free will.
Yeah.
From the perspective of computational irreducibility, the complexity and unpredictability of certain processes could be seen to support the concept of free will. If the outcomes of complex systems, like human brains, cannot be predicted in advance, it lends an element of unpredictability to human behavior, which is often associated with free will. However, this unpredictability arises not from a lack of deterministic laws, but from the inherent complexity of computing the outcomes of these laws. So I've got some stuff to say about that, but it's still quite interesting. And a middle ground. Computational irreducibility might offer a middle path between strict determinism and the notion of free will. While the laws of physics are deterministic, the outcomes they lead to in complex systems like societies, economies, or even personal decisions are so intricate and require such extensive computation that they effectively become unpredictable. Ethical and philosophical implications. The concept challenges traditional views in ethics and philosophy. It suggests a universe where the future is fundamentally unpredictable, not due to randomness, but due to the immense complexity of calculating outcomes. This raises new questions about responsibility, fate, and human agency. In essence, computational irreducibility adds a layer of complexity to the debate about free will and determinism, suggesting that even in a deterministic universe, the future can be inherently unpredictable due to the computational complexity of its processes. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. You had a comment about the free will thing?
Yeah, so degrees of freedom is what I like to focus on. So we definitely don't have free will. We can't. We are embedded within a system, so you can't have that free will. But I do think that there are degrees of freedom. Because, and I think that's supported by the Wolfram model to some degree, because there are many different ways you can get to the same outcome, right? And then you can also, in quantum mechanics, you can also have many different rules or many different, many different rules that can be applied in different ways that can lead to the same thing. Or many different, that's the same, many different rules that can lead to the same thing. Yes, that's right. So I think we have some degrees of freedom, but no true free will. So I think, yes, we do live in a deterministic universe. That's what this also shows. But even though that is deterministic, the fact that there is computational irreducibility is what kind of makes the universe special and fun and what makes life worth living, right? Because in some sense, the only way that you can actually, what makes life meaningful is the livingness of it. It's the experience of it. It's the only way you can, sort of know what your future holds is to live your life. Right? You can't just jump ahead and just be in a sense you can, right? Because you're I'm going to die. So you can jump ahead, right? But in a sense, it's what gives life its meaning, right? It's because the only way to truly know or to truly experience it is to go through it. you can't just jump ahead and just be like, oh yeah, that was a life kind of vibe. Like there is something special to actually going through each of the steps in the process. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I guess I don't know if this is correct, but I guess it's only deterministic after the fact, right? Because we can go backwards and analyze how it is deterministic, but we can't predict, we can't predict what's going to happen in the future, although it's deterministic at the same time. It's sort of like that, the cat is alive and dead at the same time, like it just is, right? It's sort of the same thing here. Because, yeah, it's deterministic, but we can't predict the future without actually going through all of the steps and seeing it, live, like how it manifests itself and the results after the fact. And once we have the results, we can go back and say, oh, well, look, it's actually deterministic, but we can only say that after the fact. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I don't know if I do know what you're trying to say. We're saying it's deterministic because in the Wolfram model, we're saying that there is these points that are, and the connections between those points is what space is. And the transformations that get applied to that hypergraph, like the transformation rules, are a set of rules that they're deterministic. But because the only way to actually understand the only way to know what can happen is to run the thing, means that we can't jump ahead. There are cases where we can't jump ahead. There are some things that are reducible where we can jump ahead, right? Like, so we can, with certain degrees, we can predict the motion of planets, things like that at a coarse-grained level, but some things we can't, right? We can't jump ahead. There are no shortcuts. The only way to actually know is to run the thing. And I think that's, in a sense, what makes life beautiful and special is like the only way to know about your life is to live it to its full potential. Okay.
I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but I was trying to get to what you were saying.
Well, I fucked it up because I looked back from what you were saying, and then I saw. So look at this last part here in number 1. This means that, practically speaking, the future remains unpredictable despite being determined by specific laws. So the laws are deterministic, right? Those are, we understand that, but we don't understand exactly how those determined laws are going to have an effect on what we're trying to predict without actually running the simulation.
Yeah, because there's so much computation that would need to be done. And like, essentially think about like the most efficient way is for the things to be happening in the universe. Like simulating, I could get the data up, but like simulating a particle is like very computationally intensive. And that's just a particle. Imagine trying to simulate all the particles. You would need a computer that's, at the very least, it would have to be as big as the universe. So like, you may as well just have the universe be doing it.
Yeah. So in simulating a particle, we can have specific laws in place that are deterministic, but we don't know what the outcome is going to be until we run that simulation.
Well, yeah. I don't know what you're trying to get. I don't know where our disconnect is. So yes, but like there's a lot of computation to simulate just one particle, right? Mm-hmm. So we're limited as to what we can simulate. We can't simulate everything because we would need everything to simulate it, right? Like if you want to simulate the Earth in its totality, like pretty much the most efficient way to do that is to just have the Earth doing what it's doing.
Right. So the specific laws, like where it says determined by specific laws, like that. So the laws of physics, for example, right? Like we can have a good understanding of that because it's deterministic, but we don't know what's going to happen on planet Earth tomorrow, right? We can understand how these specific laws function,
Is it?
right, in the simulation or like in real life, but we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
No, because there's too many variables. We can't model everything. We don't have the positions and the momentum of everything that there is. Right? Like, okay, I was just thinking, this is like same vein but slight tangent. I was thinking about this morning. Like, the Earth is a pretty big place relative to us, right? Okay, so what's happening around the world all day, every day? Like, there's people doing shit that we would have no idea about. How would we have any idea about that? Well, the only way you would know is if you had, like, cameras watching every part of the Earth. So, like, all of our predictions, all of our models are based off like finite samples of this infinite thing, something that appears to be sort of, infinite. So we're always going to be limited in that regard. And again, we are computationally bounded observers. Like, we don't have access to infinite amounts of compute. Is that kind of tying back into what you're saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Like,
so yeah, even though the rules are simple and we can understand the rules, we can't understand all of the things that can emerge from those rules. The simplicity of those rules doesn't give you access to the immense complexity that can arise from them interacting with each other.
Maybe that's the meaning of life, Guy. Maybe that's the meaning right there. Is that we're not meant to know. We're not supposed to know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's the point. We're not supposed to learn how to predict the future, and because it's too complicated to do so, it's too many variables. Because the point of life is we're not supposed to know, because we're supposed to live in the unknown, in the now.
Ooh, I like that little spin you put on the end. I was drifting away from you, and then you almost had me back. I would make a slight modification to that. I would say that we can't ever know, but we are prediction machines. To me, that's what intelligence is. It's something that is trying to predict the future, right? That's these generative models, like that's humans. I think that's intelligence, is being able to be in an uncertain environment and use what has previously been learned or known to try and problem solve in that space. And problem solving is just predictions, right? So I would say that's largely what we're trying to, that's what life is trying to do. And that the meaning of life is to live it. Like, it is to explore possibility space. Like, something exists. There is something, right? Yeah, I'm talking to you right now. This is a thing. Something is happening. It is sort of the meaning of life is to explore that possibility space. Like, what is possible in this universe? Where would we like to explore? To me, I think the universe is just like possibility putty, right? It's just it's a mass of possibility putty, and with that possibility putty, you can explore and create all of those possible things. So it's up to you, or you're limited by your imagination and your ability to act or take action in this universe to try and create the world or the life or the universe that you would like to exist in or participate in. To me, I think that is the meaning of life. Knowing that we can never know everything, that we can never fully predict everything, but we have the ability to explore and create some subset of that.
Possibility foam.
Yeah, possibility foam. We are who are you remembering that from?
This one scientist that you brought up a few podcasts ago.
The quantum foam.
And when you zoom in, the quantum foam, he just says everything's foam.
Yeah. yeah.
From that.
But yeah, so honestly, that's what I tend to think of it like possibility putty. This universe is this giant possibility space. And we have the ability to explore that. And the things that we do today can influence our light cones and where we have access to in the future. I think it's fascinating. But yeah, look, that's about an hour, mainly because the first 20 minutes is talking about jacking off and making mistakes with our model. But did you have anything else that you might have wanted to read through?
No, I think we wrapped it up perfectly, Guy. We could just do like a continuation from here next week if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to work on this to try and get it better. Like I said, the GPT that I was working with last night was way better. And then I tried to add a JSON file this morning and it seemed to break it, to be honest. I thought it was lame. But anyway, I'll work on it during the week.
I find that it changes day by day, dude. Like some days ChatGPT is working well. Other days it's doing funny shit. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's like it's day by day is different, I feel like.
Yes, I don't notice it day to day, but yes, I have noticed that over time it does change. There are definitely better and worse times of using it. That is for sure. But like I said, yeah, last night was pretty good. So anyway, I'll play around with it. I'll give it some more information. I'll spend a bit more time tweaking it and see if we can get some better answers. But that was like it's interesting that you can do this now. I think that this is very easy for a lot of people to do. I'm interested to see how this evolves because I think it's a fantastic way for people to, it lowers the barrier for exploration of complex or complicated topics. And I'm excited about that.
Same.
Yeah. Well, Guy, I'm going to leave you with the fact that computational irreducibility is what makes life beautiful and kind of what makes it worth living because you can't know ahead of time, dude. The only way to know is to just run it. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much for listening to everybody that has tuned in and stayed through to this point. You are our true supporters. We thank you very much. We're very grateful for you, all 3 or 4. And have a lovely rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever it is. Polska, peace out, Guy.
Love you, bro. Peace.
Love you too, Guy. Bye.